Hello everyone, welcome to the Balaton Park circuit for race 2 of our Ferrari Challenge Coppa Shell Am drivers that will be taking to the track momentarily. It is round 2 of our Ferrari Challenge 2024 calendar here in Hungary, situated just by the Lake Balaton, which is very much a holiday district of this area. What a beautiful sight it is, and we here arrive at this relatively new circuit for the first time with the Ferrari Challenge, and therefore it's been a kind of a blank piece of paper for all of our drivers, having hot foot here from Mugello in Italy. From here we go to Spain. It is Jerez, then Portimao, then La Casale, then the Nürburgring at the beginning of September, before Imola in the middle of October to conclude our 2024 campaign of Ferrari Challenge racing. Complete with the new 296 Challenge car that we are using, although there is still a category for our 488 cars, which are so successful in the Ferrari Challenge. Here are the weather conditions. 32 degrees the track temperature, air temperature 24, 54% humidity, and 0 kilometers per hour of wind. And there you can see the looming cloud overhead. Absolutely no rain forecast, as Motohiko Isasaki, one of our Shell drivers, is down there on the grid to wish good luck to his peers in Shell Am, which of course is the championship that he won last year, and he's offering best wishes to all the drivers. It's lovely, the camaraderie between the drivers in the Ferrari Challenge categories, as you can see there, as Motohiko Isasaki, that will be out with the Shell drivers a little later today. Down there, look at this, going to Hassan Debussy, wishing him the best of luck, and it's truly lovely to see. And a good number of spectators here to enjoy the race action to come from the Ferrari Challenge. It is Shell Am, which is going to be the first to show. A 30-minute race plus 1 lap here at the Balaton Park circuit, 4.1 kilometers. And it is quite a challenging track for the drivers. They've found it across the testing and the free practices and the qualifying, and of course the first race which came yesterday. Manu Gosner also down there offering good words to our pole sitter Zois Skrimpias. So to give you the details of the circuit, it is 4.110 kilometers if you want to be pinpoint accurate, with 16 turns. 10 of them are left-handers, 6 of them are right-handers. That's the way the circuit looks, and this is what the 296 Challenge cars look like out there on the track. And Talal Sher, who'd done a great job in qualifying, goes from P3 rather, because it's P2 for this man, Shintaro Akatsu. Done a very, very good job for the Ineco team, going from P2 on the grid. So should be able to do good work from there. However, besting them all in qualifying was Zois Skrimpias, who goes from P1. We will see him in a moment. Also from the same team, the Ineco Reparto Corsa Ram team. The team engineered by Giorgio Giotto, himself a very successful racing driver and a darned good team principal, if I may say, as well. Alongside me is Nico Spalak, and, well, we will go away from this weekend here in Hungary, having had some really dramatic racing. The weather, I have to say, has thrown a curveball. Yesterday, I think today, at the risk of cursing anything, as I touch wood and look at Zois Skrimpias, the forecast for today is set fair, isn't it?
Yes, the forecast is fair. Good afternoon, everybody. Let's see if that comes to fruition. We've learned to not trust necessarily the morning forecast for the afternoon. There is one forecast that we definitely trust. It's going to be a series of 3 very, very interesting races, starting with the Coppa Shell Am. We've really seen the drivers take all their skills and all their ambitions out on this Balaton Park circuit. Not necessarily that many traditional overtaking opportunities, which didn't prevent our drivers from making those overtakes count. And yeah, I'm sure we will see much more of the same this afternoon.
And that's what's really nice about the Ferrari Challenge, is that, even if the overtaking opportunity does not necessarily present itself in the traditional manner, our drivers will find another way, and they do, and it's brilliant entertainment for us. So really very much enjoying the racing that we have had. There is Henrik Kamstrup, who was saying to me over lunch he just couldn't seem to get a lap together for qualifying today, so he's starting much further down the order than he would like. Goes from P7, so he is one driver in particular that may well be trying to execute some overtaking moves during the course of this race. Henrik Kamstrup from Formula Racing. His lap time, a 1:37.520. He says, I definitely had a better lap in the car, Dave, but I just could not find the space to be able to deliver it. Andreas Koenig, another driver that I spoke to at lunchtime, he goes from P4 on the grid, which is not where he would like to be. Nonetheless, he can be a danger man from there. So we will see what Andreas Koenig is able to do from P4. And there is the very car that we can see right now. Andreas Koenig then. Lovely colour scheme across his 296 Challenge car for Gome Motorsport and the Haupt Racing team. And the team run by Manuel Reuter himself, another very successful driver. And there we can see the 120 car of Guy Favre, or Guy 4, as he likes to be known sometimes. And our drivers are fascinating characters, as over the course of the weekend we have found out.
First time for me in a Balaton circuit, as well as first time in a Ferrari Challenge. The circuit I like a lot, it's very technical. I like that the wheel is never straight, so we have to struggle a lot to try to control the car. So it's very technical, I like it. I think it will be a very tough weekend, but yes, I'm ready for the challenge. I have a good feeling with the car immediately. In Mugello I did the pole position, so immediately I have a good feeling. I think it's easy also to drive, quite easy. Of course, I think we have to discover the car more, to discover the setup with the team. But I'm very confident, it's a long season, we'll be traveling all over Europe, so yes, it's a very nice challenge. To be part of the Ferrari family, it's very good, it's an incredible feeling and emotion. You really feel the importance of this brand, and so it's very nice, very challenging. It's a great emotion every time you get inside the car before the start, the weekend. So yeah, this one feel you very happy, and yeah, it's a good emotion.
Andrea Levy, who will be going from P5 on our Coppa Shell AM grid. There is our pole sitter, Zoe Skrimpias. He's going from P1 on the grid, and expect to see great speed from Zoe Skrimpias, going from P1. Did it all in qualifying, and knowing all about success in qualifying and racing is Niklas Nielsen.
Ferrari Challenge was a stepping stone for me to get in within the Ferrari family, and I think it's a one-make cup, a one-make GT series, so it's all the cars are the same, so you also you're able to show what you're able to do in the same car as the others, and I think I learned a lot by driving the 488 Challenge as well. It's a very difficult car actually to go fast in, because it can be quite easy to overdrive, and that's the last thing you want to do with that car, So I think it gave me a lot of skills that I was able to do, to use when I moved up to GT3 and GT afterwards. Yeah, I think the 296 is much closer to being a GT3 car compared to what the 488 was, and that's also something that we can hear from the feedback of all the testing that's been ongoing before the car was released, and also in terms of lap times compared to the 488. So I think, for most of the young drivers, the step from a challenge car to a GT3 is not going to be as big, and probably also the way the car behaves is going to be a lot closer to what they will get if they make it to GT3. Pressure is a part of the job, I guess. In the end, is also what works for us. I think if we didn't have any pressure, if they didn't want us to always try and do better, I mean, if you're not one of the best, you're not going to be there.
Ferrari factory driver Niklas Nielsen, who made his name in the Ferrari Challenge and is now driving one of the hypercars. Here comes the starting grid then. Zoe Skrimpias going from P1. Shintaro Akatsu is alongside to row 2, where we find Tal Alsher and Andreas Koenig, a driver worth watching. Row 3 contains Andrea Levi. We heard from him a few moments ago, and yesterday's race winner, Eric Chung. Then it's Henrik Kamstrup and Budlu Tarsev, who are on the next row of the grid. P9 for Hassan Tabusi and Jan Sandman going from P10. And then to the 6th row, where we find Stephen Earle and Guy Favre. They go from P11 and P12. On the 13th place, it's Roland Hurtner with Alvaro Ramos alongside. And on row 8 of the grid, it's Louis Peruskia and Paolo Scudieri. Paolo is another driver worth keeping an eye on as they head towards the start of the race. Nico, we're on board with the Richard Mille safety car.
Yeah, absolutely. A few drivers which we feel when they will feel themselves are out of position. The start of the race always critical, of course. This track in particular, because turn 1 is almost a hairpin. You come back upon yourself, this first right-hander. Very much a pinch point. We saw that yesterday, and everybody has to be really, really careful not to end your race right there and then.
You're absolutely right. Critical to get number 1 right. Zoe Skrimpias then, we can see through being on board with the Richard Mille safety car then. The cars will line up side by side in grid formation. Then, as always is the case in the Ferrari Challenge, we have a rolling start. So the Richard Mille safety car will peel off into the pit lane. It will be the responsibility of Zoe Skrimpias and Shintaro Akatsu to control the pace of the rolling start. And then the 16 drivers will be released. And we will be racing for 30 minutes plus 1 lap with the Ferrari Challenge, our Coppa Am category of cars out there on track, and some brilliant drivers amongst them, all looking to do their very best across 30 minutes plus 1 lap here at this Balaton Park circuit. So yes, the tarmac awaits. I'm just keeping an eye on the seemingly darkening cloud overhead, and also I don't want to put the commentator's curse on anything. We have seen over the course of the weekend here and towards the middle part of last week as well, just how in a heartbeat the weather conditions can change. At the moment it's bone dry with a good track temperature, which will really play into our hands of the brilliant Pirelli tyres. So there goes the Richard Mille safety car. The drivers have 2 turns to do on their formation lap before they approach the lighting gantry. There you can see it at the top of your screen. Let's get ready. Hold on to anything that might be loose clothing, because this is going to be brilliant. Here we go. We are racing with Ferrari Challenge and Coppa going into turn number 1 for the first time of asking. Eric Chung really trying to make moves in the early stages of this race. Andreas Koenig being squeezed out to the outside, and he loses a couple of places. Zoe Skrimpias, though, from P1 position, where he started, is able to nail that pole position and confirm his P1. And now Andreas Koenig is really fighting back here, back up to P4. So Shintaro Akatsu, who's doing the chasing on Zoe Skrimpias, and once Zoe Skrimpias has got his nose in front, I have to say, he really does have the pace, and well, drivers are going to have to dig deep to try and find a way to get not only on terms with him, but also to find a way by, as well as we can see 1 or 2 little bits of fibre come off some of the cars as they get very, very close together. Rubbing is racing, they always say. And here comes Zoe Skrimpias, P1, Shintaro Akatsu, P2. And then it is Tal Alsher ahead of Andreas Koenig, and then yesterday's race winner Eric Chung, who's in that P5 position at the moment. So cars making their way through this chicane. 1 or 2 drivers taking liberties with the track limits, and 1 driver has gone round right at the back, and that was Roland Hurtner, I believe, that saw his car pirouetting and pointing in the wrong direction. Thankfully, he's been able to get it pointed back in the right direction again, but of course it's dropped right to the back of the pack. Hassan Dabusi is under real threat from Guy Favre right now. That's a little bit further down the order as we about to put the first lap in the book then of this Ferrari Challenge Coppa Am race 2 of the weekend. So Skrimpias leads from Shintaro Akatsu.
One of the other drivers who got nerved out a little bit, I think it was in the battle with Eric Chung, was Alvaro Ramos, and he dropped all the way down P15. But good driving from everybody with their heads to go through that first sequence of turns unscathed, and we still all drivers running. And as you say, Zoe Scrimpius, he's trying to stretch his legs.
Jan Sandman and Henrik Kamstrup having a really good battle for P8 at the moment. I managed to pick that up from the previous shot. Zoe Scrimpias then with just under 7/10 of margin between himself and Shintaro Akatsu, then running in P2. And there you can see the car's line astern then. And there, look at the all blue, metallic blue coloured car of Henrik Kamstrup really being pursued by Jan Sandman, who's new into the Ferrari Challenge for 2024. A delight that he's here. And here is our race leader, Zoe Scrimpias, the top three then. Scrimpias from Akatsu and Cher then the top three. But now Andreas Koenig is just turning up the wick a little bit, Nico, on... oh, and there, a slight mistake. Is that going to play into the hands of Andreas Koenig? Unfortunately, he's out of position in terms of the right line through the corner. So, honestly... For Tal Al-Sher, that was a big, big save, but Andreas Koenig trying to get to the inside of Tal Al-Sher now. This is a battle that is going on for P3 in the race between the Scuderia Lebanon driver and the Go Motorsport Hout Racing driver, Andreas Koenig. So Andreas Koenig, who played an absolute blinder in qualifying yesterday, then had to fight really hard in the race, is fighting once again today. And he is clearly trying to find a way past Tal Al-Sher, and you can see the car looking just a little bit wayward as he pushes even further, and down the start-finish straight they come now under braking. Andreas Koenig gets ever closer, and here is Jan Sandman on Henrik Kamstrup, which was the battle I was talking about just a couple of moments ago. So for now, Tal Al-Sher doing a very good job in defending, and doing a very good job in leading and setting the fastest lap. Well, why wouldn't he? He's got a clear track ahead of him. A 1:38.213 comes from Zoe Scrimpias. Please bear in mind, in terms of the points that you get, as that is a car into the barriers. Now that is, I think, Tal Al-Sher.
Yeah, definitely. I didn't quite see what happened there, but made some impact with the barriers.
Front and back, I would suggest. And Tal Al-Sher, then, that car is not going to be... probably under its own steam getting away from there, so standby is probably likely to be a safety car now. So Tal Al-Sher then, so we get certainly a localized yellow flag for the moment, but that's all it is. But I feel sure it isn't going to be many moments before we get a safety car. So Zoe Scrimpias leading from Shintaro Akatsu, and then Andreas Koenig now in that P3 position. Now, Andreas Koenig and Tal Al-Sher were very, very close together. No, absolutely nothing to do with Andreas Koenig. Tal Al-Sher just running a bit wide, perhaps under pressure from Andreas Koenig, and dipped one wheel onto the grass. Let's see it from this angle here. Just runs out wide onto the grass, onto the gravel, and at that point he becomes nothing other than a passenger. Nothing he could do about that, and the car is in the barrier. So Tal Al-Sher then, unfortunately, having a brilliant race in P3 and racing really hard with Andreas Koenig, he finds himself now, unfortunately, with a car that he's going no further, and the safety car has indeed been called for, Nico.
Yes, absolutely. Well called, and Andreas Koenig was really lucky because by the time that Tal Al-Sher came across the road, he had already, but it just passed that spot on the track, and I think we will get a replay of the start fairly soon, and we use that opportunity. Here it is.
So as Eric Chung was the one that was very lively at the start, trying to find a way. He was like threading through a needle there as he went from one side of the track to the other side of the track, trying to make momentum. Look at this. Great driving from Eric Chung, who, look at that, brilliant, and put himself, actually, at that point, he was probably up to P4. So Eric Chung, who was victorious yesterday, and always buoys your confidence going into the next race, of course. I mean, it could so easily have been P3, but for the fact Andreas Koenig and already Andreas Koenig and Tal Al-Sher were having something of a battle then, and there you can see the cars through, and 1 or 2, and that's where Roland Hurtner went around. I don't know whether there was an assist in there. I'd like to see that again, really, but Roland Hurtner went around. No harm done, was able to get the car pointing in the right direction again. And so brilliant to see that Tal Al is out of the car and is perfectly okay. The integral safety of the 296 Challenge car is undoubted, and Tal Al-Sher is able to just jump out of the car, and unfortunately his race is done. And well, we're behind the safety car now. The big loser in that, of course, is Zoe Scrimpias, who had built himself up a little bit of a comfort margin over Shintaro Akatsu and Andreas Koenig. As you say, Nico, and I want to reinforce that point, very good avoidance from Andreas. I mean, it could so easily as the Tal Al-Sher was almost catapulted across the track right in front. Andreas Koenig was just, very aware of that and managed that there was no contact whatsoever. Of course, he's a big beneficiary of it because it's elevated him to P3. And now, with the cars all bunched together, when we get to a restart, and generally speaking, the recovery team here at the Balaton Park circuit have been very efficient, very quick. Hopefully we'll get back to racing very, very soon. And the likes of Andreas Koenig and Eric Chung is going to be, this is like another opportunity for them. It's like it is a restart, isn't it? So the race restarts, but any gaps that had been built by the leading drivers are nullified.
Yeah, the only difference from the start, it is going to be single file. So Zoe Strimpias will be the one who will determine when he will give it a footfall. Obviously, the safety car just crossing the timing line. So we will have at least this additional lap, and then we will see, maybe we'll get an indication when they passed the point of impact, whether it's going to be just this lap or if it's going to be one more. There we can see Paolo Scudieri, that red and blue car. He has moved up into P12 already, so made up quite a few positions. Roland Herter there going through the picture, and that's the look back from the Richard Mille safety car on Zoe Strimpias and the rest of the drivers.
So as they are recovering the cars then, we had a great Coppa Chequered race yesterday, and Zoe Strimpias leading at the moment, but we are behind the safety car. So let's take a look at the highlights of yesterday's race. And as you can see, as the race began to get underway, those threatening clouds continued to threaten. They were a bit darker even then. And well, the pinch point that is turn number 1 caught a number of drivers out, including our current race leader, Zoe Strimpias. However, for Eric Chung, it was a fantastic opportunity. He was just as bold and brave yesterday right at the start of the race as Roland Hertner got overtaken there by the 171 car of Andrea Levi. So there you can see Zoe Strimpias trying to come back, but he just dipped her wheel into the water of the curbs that was being held, and that sent him around again. Andreas Koenig was chasing down Eric Chung for all that he was worth, and Eric Chung had to serve a drive-through penalty, and Andreas Koenig, by pushing just a bit too hard, found himself pirouetting, and that of course meant that the charge from Eric Chung was undaunted and unchallenged really by anybody. There was plenty else going on though, as Andreas Koenig got the car pointing back in the right direction again and really went for it, as you can see in the 104 car. It was also a very entertaining race from Andrea Levy, the Rosso Corsa racer, which is a very, very good looking car. Eric Chung would take a victory in the Ferrari Challenge Coppa Chequered. And well done to Eric Chung. Another one of our competitors in Ferrari Challenge is a well-traveled guy. It's Louis Peruskia.
I started in Mexico City long time ago. I was into racing over there, and then I came to the States and started the Ferrari Challenge in 2017. So from those days on, I'm driving on the Ferrari Challenge since 2017 up to today. I really love it. I think you have an amazing cars over here. The 488 was an amazing car, and this 296 could be one of the best cars that you ever build and have. So I love it. I mean, I really love the Ferrari family. For me, I have 2 favorite tracks. One is Spa, and the other one is Portimao. Over here in Europe and in America is Watkins Glen, because the elevation, the difficulty of the track, and the ups and downs. So there are amazing tracks, all of those 3.
Great to hear from Louis Peruskia, the Rosso Corsa driver, who's currently running P14 in the race. And Louis, as he mentioned there, raced in North America and also here in Europe as well. And he just mentioned there, Nico, the tracks that he loves are Spa, Portimao, and in the States, it's Watkins Glen, which I'm pleased to say we've got a round of the Ferrari Challenge North America in Watkins Glen this year, so it'll be my first visit to that track.
Well, you need me there, I'm sure. Well, hopefully.
Looking on is various people in the garages around the paddock here in the Balaton Park circuit, keeping an eye on everything. And there, of course, is the Reparto Corsa Ram team. They have a particularly important role to play because their drivers currently, Nico, are P1 and P2, and of course on the radio they'll try to keep those drivers calm and how to manage the safety car period as the recovery of the stricken car of Tal Al-Sher continues, and we run behind the safety car. So there, right at the back of the pack, you can see the car of Alvaro Ramos, who the Santagol driver, and we're being told by race control that the safety car is coming in at the conclusion of this lap, and we can go back to racing again. So it's now that Giorgio Sonagiotto, who you saw on the pit wall of the Ineco Rapata Corsa Ram team pit perch, he'll be on the radio to Zeus and to Shintaro in terms of advising them how to control this restart, as we will go back to racing again with around about 17 minutes of racing plus a lap by the time we get to the line. So Andreas Koenig, one to watch. Another one to watch is going to be Eric Chung, and maybe two, Andrea Levy. As well, it's 17 and a half minutes plus a lap then as we go back to racing, and a good restart from Zoe Skripjas. He controlled that really well. Andreas Koenig did get much closer to Shintaro Akatsu, so this is the fight that's on for P2 now. And Eric Chung will like to make that a three-way party for that P2 place any moment now. And here comes Henrik Kamstrup. You may recall I said that earlier on he would be one to watch. He's chasing down Mudlo Tazev at the moment. Henrik Kamstrup running in P7. Henrik is going to have Jan Sandman and Hassan Debussy for company in very short order, I would think. So once again, Andreas Koenig under braking gets ever closer to the Shintaro Akatsu car. Through this chicane they go. Track limits at the moment, well, not too much of an issue. One or two drivers have been warned with regards to track limits. You'll get 3 warnings before a penalty is applied to you, so you almost get 3 get out of jail free cards, and once they've been played, you're in trouble. Right, now Shintaro Akatsu, almost buoyed by the pace from Andreas Koenig behind, is getting ever closer to his teammate Zoe Skripjas. This could be, from a team's point of view, very difficult to manage because you've got one team's drivers running P1 and P2, so it's Zoe Skripjas who's leading. And bear in mind, Zoe Skripjas, complete rookie coming into the Ferrari Challenge this year. He's leading the race from Shintaro Akatsu and Andreas Koenig, who will push very hard as we reach very nearly the halfway stage of this race, and much of the race has been behind the safety car for the unfortunate recovery of the Talal share car. I remind you, Talal is perfectly okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Eric Chung just put in the fastest lap of the race, so that means he is running in P4, and that means Andreas Koenig is kind of in a position where he would like to attack, but he also knows that if he's not able to make a move, that might mean that Eric Chung will come calling and try to get on terms with him for P3. So he would like to move up the order as much as possible, but equally he can't put on too daring a move because it might leave him vulnerable to the driver behind him.
I think you're absolutely right, and it's well pointed out there as Andreas Koenig moves in under braking once again towards Shintaro Akatsu. I'll tell you who is looking quite lively here is Andrea Levy as well, who is getting ever closer to Eric Chung, so it might nullify Eric's efforts in terms of getting on terms with Andreas Koenig. Here we can see, now, you may recall I mentioned right at the start of the race that Paolo Scudieri could be a driver worth watching during the course of the race. Well, he was absolutely determined to get past the car of Dr. Stephen Earle, and he did that by sticking his elbows out somewhat. And that certainly reshaped one of the review mirrors on the Stephen Earle car.
Yep, I don't think Stephen Earle necessarily expected, and
maybe not.
It was an ambitious move, and as everything that happens on the track, race control will have a look at that. But I think Paolo Scudieri,
he's given the place back. Oh no, he's got damage, I think.
I think he's
got a puncture, perhaps.
Yeah, he's worse for wear from that incident, and there you can see that Andreas Koenig, he has dispatched of Eric Chung to a little bit. The top 3 have broken away a little, and that means Andreas Koenig can totally focus on trying to get on terms with Shintaro Akatsu.
And indeed, he sets the fastest lap now, 1:37.454. Of course, this is all playing into the hands, may I say, of Zoe Skripjas, because Shintaro Akatsu undoubtedly is very aware of the fact that Andreas Koenig is coming calling, and therefore probably Shintaro Akatsu's focus is on what's happening behind him, and therefore Zoe Skripjas is able to get up the road a little bit, and has built a gap of just over a second over the pursuing driver of Shintaro Akatsu, who for now, though, seems to break away a little bit from Andreas Koenig. So, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars, all within contention potentially, but Zoe Skripjas certainly looks, forgive the pun, unchallenged currently.
Absolutely. The one challenge for all the drivers is to keep it between the white lines and the track limits. And now that the safety car has come in and the drivers are pushing to the limit, we see more and more TLs on our timing screen, which is not a good sign because it means track limit excursions have been noted. And as you said, 3 of them, you're okay. Number 4 gives you a penalty. Then it's 3, which you once again get kind of like a bonus after your first penalty, and then it really the hammer comes down.
Sadly, it looked like from the image we saw there that it was a retirement for Paolo Scudieri. His move through the inside of the second from final turn on Stephen Earle did not pay off ultimately. Zoe Scrimpias then extends his lead to 1.3 seconds over Shintaro Akatsu. The man that is in trouble right now is Eric Chung, in my opinion. Eric Chung is really being reeled in by Andrea Levy, who is running in P5 at the moment. So they get ever closer together now, and we will see whether Eric Chung is able to make a difference here. It certainly looks like he is really pushing very hard. Zoe Scrimpias, for the moment, leading something of a privileged existence in that P1 place with 1.3 seconds. Make that 1 second of advantage now as Andreas Koenig. I just wonder whether Andreas Koenig felt that it was necessary just to ease off for a couple of laps, let everything cool down a little bit before refocusing on an attack on Shintaro Akatsu. Let's see. Now, I don't wish to be troublesome or worrying here as diving to the inside goes Andrea Levy. Has he taken too much out? No, I think he has managed to get past Eric Chung. Well, as Eric Chung tries, I think Eric was just carrying a bit too much speed, and rather than have a collision, he had to bail out of that. So, Andrea Levy then, he was absolutely determined. I'd love to see that in replay because I didn't see that overtake coming. It's not, there, I have to say, there are not so many obvious places here at the Balaton Park circuit where you would conduct an overtake necessarily. That's not necessarily somewhere where I expected to see it going into the chicane. But he did it, and he did it well, and in fairness to Eric Chung, racing room was left by him.
Yeah, absolutely, and maybe Eric Chung didn't necessarily expect it there either, and that was part of the strategy. Sometimes you have to do the unorthodox stuff. Shintaro Akatsu, very orthodox, if you will, puts in the fastest lap, so he is closing in on Zoe Scrimpias, and there is a replay. I mean, it was only the last part of the overtake that we saw again, yes, but clearly on the inside, and then was just able to scrub up the speed.
As you say, we hadn't seen the first part of that shot, and quite clearly Eric Chung was aware of the fact that he was coming. He gave him room, knowing that he would be able to get the switch back, or hoping that he would be able to get the switch back, which regrettably he was unable to do. You're right, Shintaro Akatsu is on a mission now and goes fastest, and Nico has taken some 4/10 out of the race leader's time. So all of a sudden, the gap that at one point was at 1.3 seconds is now down to just 6.5 tenths. So Shintaro Akatsu means business here. He can see the opportunity for a race win, perhaps within the focus and target sights. There's only one thing preventing that, and that's the all-green car of Zoe Scrimpias currently.
Yeah, absolutely. We've had 3 different race winners thus far: Zoe Scrimpias, Andreas Koenig, and Eric Chung yesterday. So Shintaro Akatsu would like to join that party and become part of a very exclusive group of race winners in the Coppa Chalam 2024. Zoe Scrimpias would like to make it a double.
Of course. And what a debut it's been for 2024 for him. With no racing experience whatsoever, he has acquitted himself extremely admirably, reinforcing the fact that the 296 Challenge car is a really rewarding car to drive. Zois has taken to it like the proverbial duck to water, if I may say. And to the point where, following a press conference at Mugello, I actually spoke to Zois and I said, come on, you're winding me up here. You really got no racing experience. And he said, no, absolutely not. As under pressure now is Henrik Kamstrup, and that will be the car of Jan Sandman taking to the curbs and going through on Henrik Kamstrup.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Zoe Scrimpias, he already has 2 Rotiform pole position awards to his name. He's got 2 podiums to his name, so he already has 4 trophies collected. So he can make it more than 1 trophy per race if he continues like that. So that's a career statistic.
Jan Sandman's got the hurry up bill from somewhere. Look at him go now. He's absolutely left Henrik Kamstrup in his wake. Next in his target sights is Mutlu Tazev. Nico, Jan Sandman, we've seen glimpses of his brilliance already, and we're seeing many more now.
Yes, absolutely. The hypercar livery that he sports on his 296 challenge, and really putting the pressure on the MR Ferrari racing car of Mutlu Tazev. And it's the battle for P6 at the moment. 7 minutes, 50 seconds remaining, plus 1 lap. And yeah, Jan Sandman really has taken to this circuit, it feels.
Yeah, absolutely. It seems really to his liking. And, well, he's certainly pursuing Mutlu Tazev now, the Emil Ferrari racing driver. Car number 171 picks up a time penalty, and that is Andrea Levy, who is running P4 on track at the moment. That's going to affect his position come the end of the race, Nico, because he gets that 5-second time added to his race time at the end of the race, and therefore that's going to put him back a couple, if not more, positions, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. He's basically falls into the virtual clutches of the Mutlu Tazev Jan Sandman battle, so he's right thereabouts where those two drivers are, or also Henrik Kamstrup, who's now come back a little bit at Jan Sandman. So it's going to be interesting how those gaps develop, and there is an attempt by Jan Sandman, and maybe too deep,
yep.
Too deep into that turn.
And that's when you've got to have your wits about you. And in fairness, Mutlu Tazev did have his wits about him, and just the switch back there was relatively easy for him, wasn't it? And yes, it's as we were. Henrik Kamstrup wasn't quite able to take advantage. He wasn't quite close enough, because he could have almost wrestled that place back again, couldn't he? But there we are, car number 186 exceeding the track limits at turn 12. Now that is Jan Sandman, and by my calculations, Nico, Jan has had his final track limits warning. So as he pursues Mutlu Tazev now, he's got to be aware of the fact that he is vulnerable to the metaphorical ruler to be rapped across the knuckles by our race director, Claudio Garavini. At the moment, only one driver has picked up a time penalty, and that's, as Nico had said, it's the number 171 car of Andrea Levy. You can see that by the red bar on the left-hand side of your screen on the graphics. And just as we mention it, so too does Jan Sandman pick up a 5-second time penalty for track limits.
Yeah, with 5 minutes 45 seconds remaining, obviously that puts him way down the order, and he was trying to get on terms, obviously on the track with Mutlu Tazev. He was battling virtually with Andrea Levy, and
yes,
now all that's out the window, and he has to try and just focus on the race remaining. No more excursions across the track limits, and just do the best he can. But the challenge for the top position has somewhat gone away. Not gone away has the challenge by Shintaro Akatsu, and he has had a clean race in terms of track limits, so that is good for him. And I think if we can try and come to terms with Zois Grimpius and push him
to make a mistake,
yeah, maybe that will count in some way or the other.
You've taken the words out of my lips.
Sorry.
That would be precisely as Andreas Koenig just gets the entry into that turn wrong, and all of a sudden Eric Chung is coming back at Andrea Levy here now. And of course, for Eric Chung, Andrea Levy is almost academic because of the time penalty that he's going to get at the end of the race, but of course his car is still on the track, and therefore Eric can't get on terms with the other drivers. Now, here we can see the Jan Sandman car then, and just two drivers have picked up time penalties thus far, and we've got 4.5 minutes of the race remaining. This is Mutlu Tazev, who is defending from Jan Sandman, and across the timing line now, the gap remains as it were, and it's kind of 7/10 between P1 and P2, and it's a second between P2 and P3 at the moment. And we can see that a time penalty has been awarded to car number 101, Paolo Scudieri, which I find curious because I think he's in the pit lane.
Yeah,
but I think he had come back out again, and so obviously when he came back out again, he had picked up a time penalty, so it has been awarded then, but he has come back into the pits, and he's actually out of the car, I'm being told, into my headphones. So Zois Grimpias leading by 7 seconds. It's not a comfortable margin. He can afford to make 0 mistakes, and I think under the totting up procedure, Zois Grimpias now He's on 3 warnings, Nico, for track limits.
Yeah, that's what our timing screen indicates, and obviously that puts him in a perilous position. And 3.5 minutes remaining. He has to drive a very, very clean race,
Yes.
more clean than ever. And Shintaro Akatsu is closing in. Andreas Koenig is closing in, and we've lauded Zoe Skrimpias, who's done an amazing job, but he is still a rookie, and you never know. The experience factor certainly isn't with him. So these are going to be 3 minutes and change of very, very interesting racing.
This is like a Bunsen burner waiting to ignite, isn't it? The battle between the top 3 here. So Zoe Skrimpias, Shintaro Akatsu and Andreas Koenig. All 3 of them are in this invitation-only party to P1 of this Coppa Am race. So Andreas Koenig could not get any closer to Shintaro Akatsu if the 2 cars were welded together. Around the final turn they go. Zoe Skrimpias crosses the timing line. The gap between P1 and P2 is 8/10. However, the gap between P2 and P3 is but 4/10. And Andreas Koenig takes a look at the inside, if only to worry the Shintaro Akatsu car ahead of him. And look at this, Andreas Koenig absolutely determined to at least wrestle away this P2. Of course, rubbing his hands with invisible soap now is Zoe Skrimpias, because the more these 2 fight behind him, it's allowing him to just focus on what he needs to do and escape up the road, Nico.
Yeah, 100%. And for Andreas Koenig, it's kind of like a mixed feeling of, you try to get into that battle, but equally, trying to get into that battle and battling on means that P1 is going to get up the road. So you have to try and make the move, but don't do anything stupid.
There you can see Zoe Skrimpias' partner there, Germana Toniella, looking on and, nerves. And here comes Andreas Koenig diving to the inside. And, Shintaro Akatsu was about to turn in, realized that the gap he wanted to turn into was full of the Ferrari 296 of Andreas Koenig. It was a bold and ambitious move, but Shintaro Akatsu is going to try and come back here. This is the fight that's going on for P2 in this Coppa Am race. Zoe Skrimpias is leading, but now Andreas Koenig on track is P2. Zoe Skrimpias, bear in mind, has got 3 track limits warnings. He cannot afford to make another mistake. And here's a replay of that overtake. He came from a way back, and you could see there that it was good avoidance by Shintaro Akatsu, who realized that Andreas Koenig was there and avoided a collision. That's very, very fair driving between both of the drivers. I kind of thought it was going to come. I didn't expect it there necessarily, but it did come from there. And now, with 1 minute remaining, look how close he is getting.
2 more laps for Zoe Skrimpias and the rest of the drivers.
So
there is Paulo Scudieri, who just finished his lap, but we focus on the leaders.
Zoe Skrimpias then is under real pressure now from Andreas Koenig, who can sniff the opportunity of a race win here, potentially. So Andreas Koenig chasing down Zoe Skrimpias, 5/10 between the 2 of them. And there, Andreas Koenig really pushing. Oh, and Andreas Koenig carrying a little bit too much speed. Oh, what a great shame that is. And I think what Andreas had to do was just dive out of that. I just wonder whether Zois braked a little bit earlier than Andreas expected, and he had to throw the car out of harm's way, and in so doing finds himself up against the wall. Let's take a look again. 6 of one, half a dozen of the other there, in my opinion.
Yeah, obviously Race Control will have a look at that. I think, if nothing else, it's a testament to the fact that when you change your line in the braking zone, that can have all sorts of unforeseeable consequences for everybody involved. And in a way, Zoe Skrimpias is quite lucky that Andreas Koenig didn't collect him, because that could have gone wrong for both of them. So he continues, obviously. Andrea Levi is now in P2, and that can only mean that as a result of that, Shintaro Akatsu also lost from that lead group, and I didn't quite see how that happened. But
there, Nico. The Shintaro Akatsu is in the gravel and beached. Alongside, you can see Andreas Koenig to the very right-hand side of the picture. Andreas is out of the car, or he's trying to get out of the car, and he's perfectly okay, and I'm sure the same is true of... I mean, Andreas had so much more speed, and Shintaro Akatsu, just as a result of that, almost followed the same line of Andreas Koenig into the... There is Andreas Koenig, perfectly okay. He's out of the car. He'll be bitterly disappointed, and it's a great shame, because it was a battle that was going to go all the way to the checkered flag. And Zoe Skrimpias now on the final lap, So Andrea Levy on track is P2, Eric Chung on track is P3, but I think Eric Chung will end up being P2 at least, and this could even be a podium for Jan Sandman, could it not? No, Jan Sandman's got a time penalty to come as well.
So it could even be a podium for Mutlu Tasev, but that is close with the 5-second penalty for Jan Sandman, but actually no, Andrea Levy, even with the time penalty, will stay ahead of Mutlu Tasev. So as we read it, it's Zoe Skrimpias, Eric Chung, and then Andrea Levy provisionally. But let's focus on our race leader, because he's only got a few turns to do.
Yes, here he is then, Zoe Skrimpias, who's certainly not had it easy for most of the race. He's had a safety car to deal with. He's had the hard-charging cars of Shintaro Akatsu and then Andreas Koenig. And now he'll be breathing the sigh of relief, I should think, for seeing the checkered flag in front of him. There it is, it waves, and Zoe Skrimpias takes victory here at Balaton Park, ahead of Andrea Levy on track, and then Eric Chung, but Eric Chung immediately gets elevated to P2, then it's Andrea Levy P3, then it's Jan Sandman, but he loses out to both Mutlu Tasev and Henrik Kamstrup and Guy Favre, and then it's Hassan Debussy with a very good P8, and there is Zoe Skrimpias then. He's our Coppa Shell Am winner here at the Balaton Park circuit. Wow, what a dramatic race. And there you can see the disappointment on Andreas Koenig's face. And I'm looking forward to talking to Andreas to see it from a driver's eye perspective, what happened there. But Andreas, I mean, he's a racing driver. He's always going to go for the win, Nico. Sometimes you do have to think about the long game and the points haul, but he could sense that he'd got the pace and he was going to go for it, and he was about to go for it, and unfortunately ended up in the gravel, as indeed did Shintaro Akatsu, who'd been brilliant all race long as well, Nico.
Yeah, I mean, just imagine the emotions on the Arnico team currently. You've got the race winner, but you also see that Shintaro Akatsu also was involved in that, and therefore lost this safe podium position, you would believe, and mixed feeling. But Zoe Skrimpias, really impressive. Great drive from a rookie, and I think especially impressive. Once he was to 3 warnings, he knew, and he kept it cool and calm. Did it help that Andreas Koenig, the threat went away? Of course it did, but still, you have to pedal the car, and he did pedal it very cleanly for the last few laps before that. So great driving, and I have to say, great disciplined driving by all our Coppa Shell Am drivers throughout the race, from the start to the very finish. Hardly any incidents whatsoever, and hugely entertaining. Hugely.
Oh, hugely. Yes, absolutely. That was absolutely a brilliant race. There's a mix of emotions, as you quite rightly said, and well, I tell you what, a big beneficiary of that race, Eric Chung. He's had a stunning weekend here, hasn't he? Taking a win yesterday and P2 today. Absolutely superb. So well done. Look at the Nico Rapata Ram Corsa team running down the pit lane to congratulate Zoe Skrimpias, who has taken victory here. Hasn't had it all his own way. Had an off in testing. The team had to work really hard to repair the car and get him back out again, but they did. And you can hear them. You can hear them celebrating, Nico.
Yeah, absolutely. Eric Chung, who we see here, 2 10th places only in Mugello, lowly by his standards, but he has really recovered. And P1 and P2.
That's great to see, isn't it?
Fantastic.
And there is Giorgio Sonagiotto. Bravo. Very emotional and lovely to see. His confirmation of the result then. So Zoe Skrimpias takes the win from Eric Chung, P2, Andrea Levy, P3, Mutlu Tasev and Henrik Kamstrup, P4 and 5, Guy Favre, P6, Jan Sandman, P7, ahead of Hassan Debussy, P8, and Roland Hertner, Alvaro Ramos, Louis Peruskia, Stephen Earle, Andreas Koenig, Shintaro Akatsu, and Paolo Scudieri is the only driver non-classified, with Talal Sher also adding to that non-classified result as well. So celebrations down there for the team, and that's always lovely to see, the camaraderie between the drivers, Nico.
Yes, absolutely. And Andrea Levy, we heard from him before the race in the interview, and good to see him celebrate together with Zoe Skrimpias. In spite of the penalty, he stays on P2. Eric Chung, not someone who's always visibly overflowing with emotion, but a great character and a great person.
Cool dude, isn't he?
Absolutely.
Yes, that's fair. That's fair. Speaking to him and Corinne, his wife, but steady on here. Steady on, Zeus. Yeah, I was speaking to them at lunch, and yeah. Bravo, bravo, we can hear being rung out there. Whew, what a race. Now, in the Coppa Shell Am Drivers' Championship, Scrimpias leading by 40, well, he's on 47 points. It's 2 ahead of Andrea Levy. Andreas Koenig, he's lost out, hasn't he? He's down a place into P3 ahead of Eric Chung, who's rising. And then it's Paolo Scudieri, Henrik Kamstrup, Mutlu Tazev, and Jan Salmon. Bear in mind, though, Nico, it is only the second of the rounds that we've got for 2024, so still a lot of points to be gained. There's points, of course, not only for the result, but also you get a point for qualifying, you get a point for the fastest lap as well, so still a lot of points to be gained. Yeah,
and Eric Chung is the perfect example. He was very far behind after the first event, and now he's very close to the front, and there is a replay of Zeus Scrimpias. I'm sure we'll get a soundbite from him.
Yeah, I hope so. Yes, Ludovica will be working really hard to catch up with Zeus Scrimpias, who will be very pleased with the result that he's been able to achieve here at the Balaton Park circuit. It is a race win for him. Let's hear from him.
Zeus, congratulations. What a beautiful day today for you. And this is an important result for the championship. Can you tell us more about your race and how you built this result with your team?
Amazing, amazing. This result doesn't belong to me. This result belongs to Ram team. You know, I had a crash on Thursday morning, so I couldn't drive at all until Friday afternoon. They prepared the car, and the car is fantastic, and they work all night, day to prepare to be ready for me for the quali of Saturday. So big thanks to the guys, to my team. Nothing to say, it's not about me. This victory, it was tough, managing the tires, but all the credit is to my team, to my mechanics.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
That is wonderful to hear. The racing driver saying, look, this was nothing to do with me, it's everything to do with the team who made sure that I could go out there and drive. So respect to Zeus for that, and let's take a look at the highlights now.
Yes.
Well, we were dealt something of a humdinger of a Coppa Shell Am race, and we're going to see the 1, 2, 3 up on the podium next here at Balaton Park. Now, there you can see one of the unsung heroes of the Ferrari Challenge to the right-hand side of your screen. That's Ilaria Caradonna, who is... She's so supportive and so helpful to us, Nico. I'm pleased that she's out on her own, and Simona is alongside as well, another hard-working individual. Thanks to both of them for the help that you give to us personally. We really appreciate it. We're just awaiting the drivers and awaiting Michele Mambelli, who's normally there to bring the drivers out for the podium. Ilaria's going to slap me for that.
No, she's just way too kind. But as you say, big shout out to not only Ilaria and Simona, but everybody here in the paddock, and the drivers, the teams, but certainly the Corsa Clienti team. everybody really making sure that it's a great experience for us, yes, but primarily for the clients, for the drivers, for everybody, and just a great paddock and a great atmosphere.
Right, in the Drivers' Championship then, so we've seen Scrimpias on 47 points ahead of Andrea Levy P2 in the Drivers' Championship. That's the way it looks. So we await the drivers to come out on the podium and enjoy the celebrations of their very hard-fought results here at Balaton Park. So Michele then, there he is to the right-hand side.
On the podium, Mutlu Tasev.
Then Mutlu Tasev going to the third step on the podium and by
Eric Chung. And the winner is Chequered. National anthem. The winners, our clubs on the podium, team manager Ineco, reparto corse RAM near the winners.
So
and the trophy
a team representative from the Republic Corsa Ram team getting out onto the podium then. So Scrimpias, Eric Chung and Mutlu Tasev, the top three. And trophy presentations right now by Ferrari factory driver Niklas Nielsen, who presents P3, P2, and stand by, here comes the winner's trophy to Scrimpias. Well done, Niklas. He knows all about success in Ferrari Challenge, making the Coppa Teams trophy to presentation to Ineco Republic Corsa Ram team as well. So all the drivers onto the top step of the podium, if they can. There's Manu Gosner, who drives for that same team, and will be out performing in Coppa Shell later this afternoon. It's always a very nice atmosphere down there. Who's going to be quickest with the champagne then? Eric Chung. Eric Chung, the clear winner, Nico. There's no steward's decision needed there. He was by far and away. The clutch was depressed and he was ready to go with the champagne.
Absolutely, yeah. Clear decision on that one. Well, great race, and we already look forward to the racing of Coppa Shell Am in just a few weeks.
Yes. Right, ML Ferrari Racing engineered the car number 134 to P3, and Eric Chung then for Formula Racing. He's had a great weekend, taking a race win yesterday. It's P2 today. And then Zeus Scrimpias for Ineco, Roberta Corsa Ram team. He is victorious here in the Balaton Park circuit. So, from Nico and myself, thank you so much for watching the Coppa Shell Am race. Hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. Boy, it was a humdinger. And make sure that you stay tuned, because coming up a little bit later, we have a Coppa Shell race and a Trofeo Pirelli race to come as well. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye for now.